So I'm feeling very, very uncomfortable right now. So I'm just gonna address these concerns. I'm feeling very, very uncomfortable that it looked like in this room, like our staff orgs and media orgs were being pitted against each other, that our students were at each other's necks at a time when we've been more united than ever, and we clearly support each other, clearly don't support racism, we clearly support freedom of speech, but we're in a situation where each person's proof interest has kind of clashed. Feeling very uncomfortable about that. Feeling very comfortable about the fact that administration supports this. I'm feeling very uncomfortable about the fact that our UCOP, President UDOC supports this. Feeling very uncomfortable about the fact that our ex-president has said very little on this subject, despite the fact that he's like the co-author of this legislation. I'm just feeling very uncomfortable about how all this is playing out and what it's doing to the students right now. With that said, I'm going to continue to just make some points that I've noticed. These are points. At this point, I really don't know how I feel about all of this because of all these reasons that I listed. But these points are one-sided, but I'm just going to go ahead and address these points. One, in terms of the committee that was formed, in respect to this, it was brought up that the committee didn't address this. I just feel uneasy about the committee in general because the committee in general had mainly media representation and AS representation. I don't feel like it represented other student interests as well. In terms of litigation, obviously, there's lawyers on either side. We don't have the ability to figure out here how the courts would actually rule this. Obviously, two different sides feel very strongly about it. If our UC president, UDOC, wants to go to court about this, he must have a damn good reason to think that he can win, because it puts the whole UC on the line. In terms of finance, yes, this will create a selective funding model for media, but we already have a selective funding model. That's why finance meets every week during campus affairs, because finance selects which things to fund and which things not to fund. So we already have a selective funding model. Litigation, let's let the courts decide. I don't know, but I feel very comfortable about all this right now.
Desiree? We'll go back. Chris Wesley? Benzo? Jordan?
All right. I do have a new point, so please do listen. So in response, first of all, to Peter's, I'm going to get warmed up first. In response to Peter's comment about the VP of Finance, about the market rate, what it actually says in this is that the VP of Finance would determine that market rate. This is not like judging off of what it actually costs to fund in a normal one. This is saying, your guys are worth 5,000. You guys are worth shit. And that's one person making the distinction. So that's one point. There is no council check on that, by the way. Second, it occurred to me, how exactly is this actually going to work? The VP of Finance says that this media org is not best for our publication or best for our advertising, so they're not going to get funding. What if they can't publish that? How's it going to come up for second review? Are they going to be forever held by the one opinion of the VP Finance? I mean, currently it says each quarter they're going to review this, but if, let's say the Koala printed something and we didn't like it, so we said, okay, well next quarter they're not getting funding. How are they supposed to prove themselves? There's just no mechanism for reevaluating. So what we're going to be doing is slowly cutting down and down, farther and farther, the number of orgs that we actually have. So if anybody can answer that, that's not in the language right now, a solution to that problem, but that would need to be if that was going to happen. But on the whole, this model is not the best one. I agree with Adam's statement that what we need is something where it is ridiculously easy to print, where we can make it so students can print within the same quarter that they want to, so they don't have to wait. And beyond that, I mean, okay, this is not going to be decided tonight. Like, I'm sorry, but like, we could stay here till all hours of the morning. No one is gonna decide anything for sure tonight. Because it's just, there are way too many people here. There are too many people not paying attention. There are too many people who just are confused at this. And like, we don't have clear-cut answers, and this is not the right format today. I want this to come to a vote, but I want it to come to a vote when it's ready. So, I really would like to move, and I'm gonna make this motion, I'd like to move this, to submit it to the committee that we had established prior with Adam's amendment now to the clause that it's gonna come up with language. So, move to submit to committee.
Peter, Jesse first.
Absolutely. You're sending this to committee that's already rejected the principle of it. I get it. Like, there's no point to that. So, no, I'm saying, like, you're essentially just wanting to kill it, but, like, in a secret way. Like, let's just say we're sending it to a committee. We're not going to say we're failing it, because then people might get mad at us. No. If the committee has already rejected the principle, if you want to fail it, just fail it. Seriously. Like, there's no need to be backhanded about this. I'll yield the rest of my time to Adam.
Somewhat what you said, but I urge you, if you actually like the possibility that this could be a workable model, that's a perfectly tenable position. If you're wanting to discharge it to a committee based on the fact that you don't like the specific language, what I would recommend doing is what I've done for options A and B, or B and C, is submit something to new business right now that discharges it to a committee whose sole purpose is to consider that as an option, and then work on that as if it were the only option to be considered. Because, like you said, if you discharge it to the same committee that we had, then it's going to get dismissed because it was a minority opinion of the committee. And if you send it to any committee whose job is to look at different broad options, it's just going to be dismissed because it was a minority opinion of the committee. That's why I sort of wish that this wasn't submitted with legislation tonight, because sure, it deserves to be fairly considered, but there's no way to consider it, you know, with the way this is written in a way that's going to be favorable to most everyone in here. So, yeah, I'm not opposed to talking about it as an option, submit it to new business, discharge it to a committee just to review that as an option.
Jordan.
Okay, we have heard countless times the committee did not see this language. Is that true?
Yes.
Nods of head. Yes, that is true. Maybe they did reject the opinion, they voted it third on their list, but they did not look at this language. And I have faith in committees. That is where the decisions are actually supposed to be made. That's where the structure is supposed to be put in. And then we come and we look it over and we give our approval or disapproval of it. We are not supposed to be here till all hours of the night trying to debate, you know, something that should be done in the committee, something that's much more focused. Like, we have a full agenda after this. Like, this is not the purpose of council. I have faith in committees, and I'm sorry that most of our executive members don't, but they really need to check themselves and like acknowledge that other members of council can make appropriate decisions. And if they decide that this is not the model, fine, leave it at that then. Don't come back and bring it up as, you know, well, I'm just going to be stubborn and give it up, you know, my own legislation. Because it's so frustrating. And there's so many members of council that are just sick of it. Please.
I think that
That's it.
it's funny that coming from our Associate Vice President of Academic Affairs, who submitted a specific referendum document, even though his council hasn't looked at it countless times. So if you're going to ask someone to
Okay,
check
can I not be personally attacked?
I mean,
You just have the right to respond.
I have the right to respond to that, and I didn't use any names. I mean, really, looking at the, I will ask that we not send it back to this committee that is essentially going to fail it. Let's be clear about that. We know what the media organizations think. The media organizations do not like this proposal. That committee, it was to get media organization input on these options, right? We already know what the media organizations prefer. We already know that. Now, if the point of putting this back to committee is to look at the language and create something that AS wants to consider, then it should be charged back to campus affairs. That is where we should change. That's where we should put it back to. Let's take it to campus affairs. Let's debate it there.
I'd accept the friendly amendment.
So I will make a friendly amendment if you accept that as a friendly amendment. Cool.